كفروا أن السماوات والأرض كانتا رتقا ففتقناهما وجعلنا من الماء كل شيء حي أفلا يؤمنون وجعلنا في الأرض رواسي أن تميد بهم وجعلنا فيها فجاجا سبلا لعلهم
Ma'am,
يهتدون
channel link if you are giving
وجعلنا
also, okay, that
السماء
when it is
سقفا
started live they can see, or
محفوظا
once it
وهم
started
عن
live you can give that link
آياتها
also. That link you can put
معرضون
it in our
وهو
this
الذي
group and you
خلق
can inform to
الليل
the teachers that YouTube link,
والنهار
that also
والشمس
okay.
والقمر
Our channel
وكل
that
في
link also
فلك
you can
يسبحون صدق
instead
الله
of that,
العظيم.
once it started in that YouTube we can
Do
put it
not the
there, ma'am,
unbelievers
in
see
that
that the
our
earth and the
group.
heavens were joined together before we clove them asunder? Before we made from water every living thing, will they not then believe? And we have set on earth mountains for them, and so that they may find their way. And we have made the sky a roof withheld, yet they turn away from its signs. And it is He who created the night, the day, the sun, and the moon. They float each in an orbit. Sadaqallah.
Thank you, Shabri. Our Vice Principal, Mrs. Sindhu Samad ma'am, has always been an unending source of support. Though she was not able to join us today, she has sent us her greetings and blessings as a short video.
Assalamu alaikum and a pleasant evening to all. I'm excited to see the brochure that the science department had shared with me, their plans for the science week. With eminent speakers coming up with inspiring topics. To start on with, we have our Mr. Raja, who is a microbiologist, and he will be discussing on the topic drugs from bench to bedside. The topic is rather interesting. Why? Because we are moving through, we'll be discussing about the history of drugs and how the innovative methods which has brought in to see that we change the system of how it is administered to patients. I'm also excited to hear from Mr. Rajan on what he is going to unveil to us regarding this topic. All the best to the science department and all my budding scientists out there eagerly waiting for the panel discussion. Thank you, and may the Almighty bless you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. And we, the students of NIMS Dubai, along with you, our spectators, are all set to explore the unexplored. To guide us in this journey, we have someone special with us today. I welcome Asliya Abubakar to introduce the chief guest.
Respected Chief Guest, Vice Principal, Supervisor, teachers, and all my dear friends, I'm Asliya Abubakar and I proudly welcome you all to celebrate Science Week with us, the students and teachers of NIMS Dubai. Before we begin, I would like to draw your attention to the very special guest we have today. Carlin R. Karl Mark holds MSc in Microbiology and Technology from Madurai Kamraj University, India, and also holds BSc Microbiology from India itself and holds PhD in Immunology from RWTH, Germany. He has worked in JRF Institute of Science in Bangalore and also worked as research associate in Medical University of Vienna, Austria, and also in University of Groningen, Netherlands. And he also worked as a postdoctoral fellow in Medical University of Marburg, Germany, and also has a platform manager in INSERM France and as well as in project manager in Mars INC France. Currently working as project manager in Seniors Health France. Thank you.
Thank you, Aslia. I think all of us are really lucky to have such a great personality ready to share a lot of amazing things with us. Without further ado, I invite our chief guest, Mr. Karlin Raja sir, to enlighten us about drug discovery from bench to bedside.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Fida. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. And it was a pleasure. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And yes, I'm happy to see a lot of students on Sunday. I don't know, it's a working day for you, but still you all joined. I really appreciate. And your professors or teachers asked want to be as an interactive. So I have some presentation to show you. Of course, just stop me wherever you want. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me anytime. So I'm happy to answer you any question that they have. So thanks, Fida, for your introduction. So maybe I can share you some slide I prepared for you. Is that okay for you?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so sorry. Let me share my slide. Okay, so tell me you see this the screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, so today I think I'm the first speaker of your science week. So it's really an honor to introduce you some scientific topic that I have been working for many years now. So the topic was given. There are many interesting things, but I chose this topic so that it is more relevant, as your vice principal said, and almost we have an ongoing pandemic. So you all aware of the coronavirus crisis. So this is very interesting topic for you to be aware. So if you have any question, so please don't hesitate to ask me. So before that, I will ask you what is a drug? What do you call as a drug? So could someone tell me what do you think? What is a drug actually?
Is it like a mix of chemicals or
Yes.
like a medicine?
Yes. So it's a yes. Much more.
It has a psychological effect.
Physiological, yes. Okay, good.
Drugs means something that is very addictive and has chemical substances that are harmful for human body.
Okay. Is it if it's okay? You mean a drug that is like cocaine or something narcotics? This is what you're talking. Drug, right? That has a bad effect for the body. Yes, it's true.
In medical, drug is a medicine we use for like in lab and all, like antibiotics and all.
Okay. Okay. So you take any time antibiotic or something that you want, or there's some time that you need to take?
We use it when we need. We only use it when our body needs it.
Yes. Okay. So when you have an issue in your body, when it's not functioning well, you take it. So it's you cannot eat as a food because you eat, but it's not a food. Okay. So this is a drug. So here is the description: the substance other than food, because you cannot eat a drug every day as a food, as a replacement for food. But it affects your body, especially you use it as a treatment or to cure or prevent some disease. Did that make sense for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So some of you said the drug would be a chemical substance. Is that correct? Is always a chemical?
Yeah,
No.
sometimes for medical terms we use medicines as drugs.
Okay. Is this always chemical?
No.
Okay, so what else could be a drug?
Even we're using medical plants like the Ayurvedic medicines, like it does contain the plant proteins also.
Okay, that's a good answer. But still, is a plant, but inside the plant, either root or leaf, there is a chemical that will influence the outcome of the purpose that you take, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you. But I have some more details for you. A drug, as you said, could be a chemical. So it's for example, there are a lot of drugs on the market. If you go to a medical store or pharmacy, so you find a lot of drugs. So it could be a chemical, mostly chemical. It's a paracetamol, as you know, when you have headache or fever, you take it. Also aspirin. So these are famous drugs globally used in every country. If you have a headache or fever, so they are in the market for many years without less side effects. So these are chemicals, as you said. But there are other type of drugs in the recently for the last 30, 40 years. So I will go through the slides so that you will be aware. And if you have any question, please ask me. So I'm happy to answer you, okay?
Okay, sir.
So chemical is a drug that is also biological because, for example, hormones could be as a drug. An antibiotic is also a biological origin because the antibiotics are mainly produced by bacteria or fungi. I don't know you are aware of that, because these are the bacteria they are producing to kill against some other adversary bacteria. So, but we use them for our advantage. So the antibiotics are produced by bacteria against some other bacteria, but we use it for our purpose to kill the pathogenic bacteria. So this is also from a biological origin, even though there's a chemical structure, but it's a biological origin. So there is also fungicides. It's also from fungi. There are some antibiotics that's against bacteria that we use. And there are a lot of hormones. For example, if you have thyroid, maybe you might have heard thyroid issues. They take thyroxine, is a hormone, but you use as a drug to cure the thyroid problems. And also there is a famous one is estrogen for the birth control pills. This is also one of the hormones. So we use hormones and also as a drug. So drug doesn't mean that it's always a chemical. It could be a biological. And recently there are a lot of peptides. This is, of course, is like amino acids, which are a chain of amino acids. Maybe in the chemistry or biochemistry, you might read that, and in the future you will hear when you go higher education. But peptides could be also drugs because there are anti-cancer, anti-bactericidal, and there are a lot of pharmaceutical companies at the moment. They prefer peptide drugs because, as you might hear, there are a lot of bacteria. Since we use antibiotics for everything, there are a lot of bacteria that are developing resistance against certain antibiotics. So these bacteria cannot be cured by normal antibiotics. So we have to find some other way to kill them. So there are peptide drugs. They can really target these pathogenic bacteria that will not resist, that are resistant to conventional antibiotics. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so if you have a question, please ask me. And there's also a new drug, which is the last 10 years. Maybe you might have heard the gene therapy. So you can use virus as a drug too. So what we do, we take the virus and then you modify the virus, which is a really pathogenic part, or you take virus from insects, affecting the insects, but is not pathogen to human, but you use for our advantage. So in this case, the virus could be also a drug. That means you will treat the genetic disorder using this virus. So what you do, you put the genes that are missing, that have defect in the human body when there are a lot of heart diseases or skin or tumors that they caused by genetic mutation, to replace that. So you use the real good gene, to be simple as it is, and you pack this virus with the good gene, and then you give the virus as a drug. So this, when the virus goes to the target cell, it will replace the damaged default mutant gene, and then you incorporate the good one. So it could be gene. So the virus could be also a drug at the moment. So when I will, in the later slide, I can explain you a bit how it has been done, or what are the steps that to do virus drugs. So, and as I said, there is also bacteria. Recently, they can be used as a drug for anti-cancer therapy. So what they do, they take a bacteria, as I said, they do genetic engineering, and then they give the bacteria. So what the bacteria does is it goes to the tumor cells, and then it exposes some antigens. You know, antigen is some molecule that induce immune response. So that our body will react to the tumor, and then they will come and eliminate the white blood cells, will come to the tumor, and then they try to cure the tumor in time. So bacteria and viruses could be also a drug. So it's not always chemical, but could be biological, and also, yes, mostly biological, as you said, is the hormones, peptides, and bacteria, viruses could be a drug. Okay?
Okay, sir.
So what about vaccine? Do you think a vaccine is a drug, or what is that? Anyone can have an idea?
Can I try?
Yes, please.
Vaccine is said to be the dead or the weakened dose of any virus we are trying to protect ourselves from, right?
Yes, yes, this is the definition. But vaccine you consider as a drug or not?
Vaccine can I try?
Yes, please.
Vaccine can be considered as in two ways. Like, the first way is that it is an antibody which kills the outside hormones that tries to enter our body. So this vaccine acts as an antibody and tries to kill it. And the second way is like it's a drug for these viruses. So it kills the viruses or like weakens the viruses.
Okay, so in general, as I said before, drug could be something that you take, is not food, but you take, it will modify, there is an outcome of if there's a disease, so it will affect to cure the disease. But in terms of vaccine, it is preventing something that is coming to affect you. So, for example, you maybe when you're a child, you had a polio or BCT. There are a lot of vaccines that you might have administered, smallpox, chickenpox vaccines. And recently, now, with the global pandemic, there are people now, every government is struggling to vaccinate people against coronavirus. So the aim of the vaccine is that to prevent you from having the disease in advance. So it's a kind of prophylaxis. So it's a prevention method, but it's also considered as a drug because you are not taking it as a food. Is it okay? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so vaccine can be also a drug, but it's the purpose, the objective of the outcome is not the same. For example, if you have a headache or any disease, you take drug to cure the problem, but in the vaccine, you are trying to prevent. In the future, you may get this problem, so you are well prepared, so that when you have let's say if you have a corona vaccine, you will not have when you have the real virus, you will not be affected because you are already protected by your body is protected because of vaccination. It's okay. So I go to the next slide. So for every drug, so you cannot take a drug if you have a drug, you cannot take right away. So there are a lot of steps in the process. So when you have an idea as a drug, for example, okay, I found a molecule or a chemical compound that could be useful as be a drug. So it's you think this is the hypothesis. So you make a hypothesis that, okay, this could be the molecule that is going to cure certain disease. So you have the hypothesis, but you have to test that your idea is correct. So what globally all the sciences or any pharmaceutical company does, first they have to test your idea in a cell culture, in vitro. They call it in vitro, so it's also called preclinical. So they culture the cells. For example, if you find if you think it's a drug, it is against lung problem or liver or intestine. So what you do, you take the cells and you culture in this. Yes, you see in the screen there is a flask or dishes. So you grow the cells on these plates, on the small chambers, and then you test the compound in these cells, and you show that what your idea is correct. So first, you don't go directly to the people, the human being. So you try to test before with in vitro cells, and then you prove that whatever the idea you make is really effective, and then you go to the next step. So once you does with the cell culture, you go to higher animals before you go to human being directly, which is first of all is illegal to test any drug which is not at all proven before. By tested before you go directly to human being is not acceptable. So first, what you do, you test after the cell culture experiments. You will test with small animals. For example, you start with mouse. Once you do a lot of experiment with mouse, and then you go to a rat. Rat is bigger than mouse, so you try. Plus the physiology is much more. The bigger the animal you go, it is closer to human being, physiologically. So you try with the rats, and then once you have a successful result, you will go with a sheep or dog or pig, and then the monkeys. So monkeys, as you know, they are very close to, genetically we are close, 98%. We are identical. The genome of a monkey and the human being are very, very identical. Only we have 2% different of genes between monkey and human. And these also mammal, so they have the same body type, except they cannot speak, but they have a very good cognitive skills like human. So at the end point, before you try to human being, you try to with monkeys. And then you prove your hypothesis that you did with initially until the monkeys are correct. So, and then you are allowed to go to the human being trial with human beings. At the moment I'm working. At the moment I'm working, as you know, that I'm working with Syneos Health, which is a biotech pharmaceutical company. So we have a client or customers, how you call it, to help them to achieve all the aspects of their wish, that they have some drug, they have the idea, they have the compound, they want to test that this drug has to be good to cure some disease. So there are a lot of options that we can provide. So first we can try in the cell culture on the animals, and then of course later, once you are all successful with the early development, you can go to clinical phase. And then the drug, once all crossed, you have a drug at the end of your successful story. Do you have any questions here?
No, sir.
No, sir, we're fine.
Okay. So once you have the early phase, you did all with animals, so you are all have good results. You have the cure. So whatever you are targeting, let's say you have a lung disease, you found a drug which is curing that disease, and you are successful to show in the mouse or in the dog or in monkey that this drug is curing the illness in the monkey or mouse. You want to go to clinical trials. So what are clinical trials? These are a scientifically controlled study. And the safety, first to check the safety and the effectiveness of a therapeutic agent. In this case, your drug or a biological or anything that you want to test, like it could be a vaccine, or could be a chemical, or could be a hormone or peptide, as I showed you before. It could be a virus, genetically modified virus or bacteria. So this is the trial that you test first time in a human being, which is called clinical trial. This study is really highly scientifically controlled, and there are a lot of regulatory things that we should follow. There are a lot of rules and regulations, and also the governmental procedure. We have to follow that. And then you go from every step to one by one. I will show you in my next slides what will be the step, what are the steps, so how long it takes to get to a drug from the start to the end. Okay, so for this clinical trial, there are a lot of people involved. It's not so easy because there are a lot of teams, researchers, scientists, drug makers, pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, and patients, and doctors, and people like me. I'm a project manager, so I am the one interacting with the client and to manage, interact with the hospital and the company, and then also the doctors, until the drug is completely out to the market. So there are a lot of people involved, and a lot of time and a lot of effort, and scientific discussions, and also there are a lot of regulations that we need to follow. And before going to a drug trial, there are a lot of, as I said before, there are governmental agencies that they control, they supervise what the drug is doing, what you are doing in the clinical trial. So, and also there are a lot of drugs on the market that you find in the pharmacy, or how do you call it, in the drugstore. They are also called, they control, the government will watch what are they selling, what are the side effects, is there any people have a side effect of taking the drug, and if somebody somebody died by taking the drug, the government will check, verify what happened, and they go deeper and investigate. So this process is called pharmacovigilance. So the government will have authority. So there are globally two big authorities on the planet. The first one is FDA, which is Food and Drug Administration. It is headquarters in USA. It controls the global drugs, surveillance and approval of the drugs and clinical trials, everything. And the second biggest one is European Medical Agency, which is in the headquarters in Amsterdam, Netherlands. This also controls all the European area. If you want to try any trial, make any clinical trials in Europe, you need to ask the permission of the European Medical Agency that you will do the trials in Europe. Of course, and also they do the pharmacovigilance. That's important to be vigilant and see which drug is okay, which drug is having some side effect to the people, and who, how many people, if there are any death or if there's not reported. So they will check. If there are some drugs which is not, we have side effects, the agency can stop, or they will cancel the permission to test the drug, and also it can be a penalty. It will be a heavy fine if you don't disclose that the agency that there is some death or some big side effect. A lot of people became blind, or there are some issues that when they take some drug as a side effect, they could be blind or they die. In this case, the government agency will investigate, and then first they stop the drug and the trial. If the drug already approved and it's on the market, they will stop selling this drug. So these are the agencies, they have really a control. And every country has their own agency. For example, in China, there is a CFDA. It's called the China Food and Drug Administration, which is similar than FDA, but it controls all the drug which is in the trials, or approved drugs, or pharmacovigilance, whatever I said, in China. And there's one in India, which is CDESCO, Central Drug Standard Control Organization. And there is one also, every country has one. And in the UAE, the Ministry of Health is controlling. But under the Ministry of Health, there are two agencies. They are big ones. These are DHA, Dubai Health Authority. And also there's the Health Authority of Abu Dhabi. So these are the big ones in UAE, but they are under the Ministry of Health. What they do, as I said, they control the clinical trials within their country. So if you have an idea in UAE, if you want to test any drug, you should ask permission to the Dubai Health Authority or the Health Authority of Abu Dhabi, or you directly apply to Ministry of Health to show that the data that you had before, to ask that, look, I have this data, it's good so far, there's no side effect, this is the drug we want to test in the clinical trial. And it's not easy to go for to immediately go for trial, because there are a lot of international guidelines and they have to be followed, and you have to keep record. That means anytime the investigation they happen, you have to show what you did. So what are the people who joined in this trial, who are the participant, who is the manager, who is the sponsor. So there should be all record of everything anytime. So this record should be kept for 25 years. For example, if there's aspirin is you want to test aspirin, is just for example for you, because this already is in the market. But if you try this compound and then the drug is on the market, and then since then you should keep all the records for 25 years in a really controlled area. So in case the government want to verify that your data are really authentic, they should come and check your data with the clinical trials, all the stuff for 25 years. Is it clear for everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you have any question, please don't hesitate to stop me and ask me anytime. If you have any question on this topic so far.
Yes, sir, we are fine, sir.
Okay. So, this is a step of a drug discovery. First, you have an idea, and then you do a basic research, as you see here, and then you go to clinical trials. In the clinical trial, there are many phases, as you see here, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Once the phase 3 is the last step of a trial of the drug, once you have done that, you will show the results that you obtain in your whole phases, clinical trials, to a regulatory authority. That means that in the step 3, you ask the government, the FDA. Normally, the FDA is the global authority of the drug administration and the approval. So you show the results, and then you ask for the permission. Look, I found all the good things of my drug. I want to use this drug to be used for the patient care every day, regularly, to be available in the drugstore, or the medical doctor can prescribe this drug. So, and then once the FDA approve, they should verify all your finding. If they don't find any bad things or side effects, there are side effects, but it should not be lethal. And then they will approve this drug, and then you can go to the patient care. So it is a big, long process. It takes time, and also, of course, a lot of money. Now I'd like to ask you a question. So from your idea to the patient care, how long do you think it takes to deliver a drug? So you have an idea, you have a compound that will be, one day it will be a drug. So what will be the approximate duration, do you think?
5 to 10 years.
Sir, can I
Okay.
try?
Yes.
It might depend on the seriousness of the situation. Once we didn't have cure for chickenpox or polio. Like, it took long years to find the cure for that. But when we were in a very important need of situation, like the global pandemic started approximately about 1.5 years ago. And just within that time span, we found out the cure, like multiple companies found out the cure, because see, when there is an importance, we try harder. Like, it depends on the situation, according to me.
Okay. It's a good answer. Very good. And it's also not always depend on the situation, because sometimes, as you said, in the coronavirus, the government will make some ease some regulation, because it's a very serious issue. Every day there are 1,000 people dying in every country, so it's almost 30 million people dead. 30 to 40 million died so far. When you compare to that, if you try a drug that it could save some people, the government will say, okay, we have a lot of regulation, but this is very exceptional case. We will give a permission, but it's only temporary. Exceptionally, we will give a temporary permission, but if there is some issue happens in real time, we will stop it. So this is what the real situation that as you said. And sometimes, as you said, it takes a lot of time to get a cure. This depends on the disease, and also depends on the availability of the patients. For example, if you have some ALS, there is a genetic disorder, ALS, and there are a lot of these genetic disorders which are very, very rare. You will find one in 10,000 people will have a chance to have this disease, or even more. 1 million. There are some diseases that 1 in 1 million. So if you have a drug, to get that person to accept that you want to test your drug on them, it is very difficult, because in a drug trial, the person that in the clinical trials, the person that you are trying to test, they should first accept that they are ready to take your drug, because still it is not on the public, it's not commercialized, it is an investigational drug, and they have to be acceptable. They should accept that your drug can be administered to them. If they don't accept, you cannot test, because it is illegal, and they can go to the prison or jail or big heavy penalty by not respecting that, because the government will control every step. So this is one of the reasons some drugs takes a lot of time, because they have to find the patient, and plus they have to accept that they are ready to take your drug, because they might have tried all the drugs in their life and they cannot get better. So they think that you have some solution for them, and you have to convince that they are ready to take it. If they don't accept, you cannot force them, and you cannot trick them illegally. Let's say, okay, it's the same drug, I don't anything, but you should not cheat them. That is one of the biggest, really important one. If the government or FDA find out that you are lying to the patient, that you didn't tell them the truth, that you are giving some drug which is not in the market, which is a really big penalty, because
Sir, we are not able to hear you.
Yes, sir.
So I think we have lost you on your audio.
We can't hear you, sir. Yeah, Fida, yes.
Sir, I think if you try to rejoin, maybe the issue will be solved.
Sir, your mic is on mute.
can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Sorry for the interruption. So
It's
I
okay,
will
sir.
show you again the slides. I don't know how much I lost, but I hope you will be able to see it. You see it now, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can.
Okay. Okay. So So average time for a drug development is from the start to the end is 15 years. So I don't know, you are teenagers. So some drugs that you are using now, they has been the idea has been started, the trial has been started even before you are born. So imagine then you see in the market or in the pharmacy that there are some drugs, they are really very old. So it takes a lot of time to come to a market to see to really in the patient care. And the cost for to do all this stuff is almost $10 million for from the basic research to the patient care. That's why some drugs are really expensive. So maybe you wonder why this is so expensive, this drug, because there's a time and the effort and the money they spent for that, it is very huge. So what I put it in Emirate in dirham, which is 37 million. So it's a huge amount of money the pharmaceutical companies invest to just for one drug to be in the patient care. Do you have any question for me here?
Sir, I have a doubt. Can I ask, sir?
Yes, please, yes.
Okay, sir. So what if I create a drug and the FDA has approved it, but the authority of my country did not approve it? Can I still proceed with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a very good question then. Yes. So as I said, there is a global authority. If they agree, that doesn't mean your country should agree too. In most of the cases, they agreed because they have a very tightly controlled regulations. And so let's say if the FDA agree, if the Dubai Health Authority doesn't agree, you import this drug to Dubai or UAE, and you cannot, the physician or the doctor cannot prescribe the drug in your country. So this is also a very important thing. And vice versa, for example, if the DHA or the Ministry of Health from Emirates approve a drug, you cannot use the same drug in other countries. So this is a country-specific approval. That's why if you fly to any countries, the customs will check what kind of, if you are carrying any drug or prescribed drug, which is more than the allowed that your personal need. So for example, if you are traveling to India or you travel to USA, you need some drug. And this is available only in Dubai. You take the drug, it's for your own purpose, and you go, and then you declare to the customs, look, this is for my private use, and then I will not get it in any other country because this is only in my country. In case if you go to USA, you are staying longer than as you planned, or in India, you go to the physician and with your drug. And you cannot have the same drug, but they can give you something similar. Look, this drug is not available in your country and is not approved by the FDA of the US. So what we can do with emergency situation, which is something, this drug is similar to your condition, we can only give that to you. So this is the real life situation. That's why they have a lot of control when you're in the airport. If you see the customs also, they declare if that drug. If you take more than necessary, they will also confiscate the drugs.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Any other questions here?
No,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so as I said, this is I try to make a process that you understand how its whole process works. So you have an idea, you do a basic research, and then you have a preclinical, and then you submit all the details to the government, the FDA, EMA for Europe and US, our relevant authority. If you want to you market your drug only in UAE, you only submit the papers, documents to the Ministry of Health in UAE. But if your drug is globally you want to cure everyone, you should go to a bigger authority like FDA and EMA. You submit all the documents, and then you show that this is what you have done. These are the results, and then you ask for the permission. So when the FDA approved, This drug should be available in the most of the countries. For example, paracetamol, aspirin, you can go to any pharmacy in the world, or you go to US or in Europe or in India, you can buy aspirin. But there are some drugs which is not approved by all the government. In this case, you cannot buy it easily. And this is the case. I will come to at the end of my slide. This is a similar situation for COVID vaccine. So I will explain you later. So when you have the permission from FDA or EMA or Ministry of Health from Dubai, you start the trial. Before starting the trial, you go to the trial site. It could be mostly a hospital. In the hospital, there is a committee, safety committee. You should provide application to show, look, the government approved that I can try a clinical trial. You ask the local committee of the hospital that this should be clear. Can I test my drug in the patients in your site? And this committee should discuss with your result and the permission, and then they will approve. Okay, so I see that you have all the clinical data, the preclinical data, and also the government approved your application, so we can try. So you go to the first phase 1 trial. So you take a small group of people, and then you do the experiment, you do the trial, and then let's say the trial is 2 years. Sometime after 6 months or even 1 month, the committee, the IRB committee will ask you, okay, you tested some drugs on some people. What happened? They are okay? They're healthy? Show me the result of that. And then you have the results from the first 2 months or 6 months, the results from the patient, and then you. Sorry? Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, and then you show them. This is a committee. The safety committee said, okay, you are so far, it's okay. You can continue. If there is some issue, they will stop here. So there is a stop. After even you try 2 weeks, if there are patients complaining, they cannot breathe, they have problem to see or anything that they have not comfortable, the safety committee will decide, okay, now you should stop because I see that a lot of people have some complaints or some side effects. You should not go further. You should stop here. Or if they say, okay, I see there is no, the committee will decide, okay, there is no issue, you can continue. So you can go to complete the phase 1 trial. Once you have the phase 1 trial, you give the results to FDA or any local authority, the EMA, the European Medical Agency. You ask for the permission again to do the phase 2 trial, which is bigger, a lot of people. The phase 1 trial is a small group of people, sometimes healthy volunteers. And the phase 2 is a more number of people. And the phase 3 is a huge. And the time between each trial is very, very, very long. Normally, the phase 1 trial could be 1 or 2 years. And the phase 2 trial would be 2 to 4 years. Phase 3 trials could be longer because the number of people in the trial are huge. So every time you ask the patient to consent them that they agree to test your drug, and then you test the drug. And that's why it takes a lot of time. Every time you ask the permission from the participant and they have to sign a document, there are a lot of procedure. So I don't want to make it complicated, so I make it very simple for you. So every time you do the drug, there are a lot of permissions to ask from the government and also the local ethics authority. If there is some issue, they will stop there at the time. That you have to notify is the doctor or the person who is in charge of the trial should immediately notify to the relevant authority if there is some issue with the drug they test. As I said before, so you see here the phase 1 and 2, 3. The first phase 1 trial you try with a small group of people, could be 10 or 20 or 100. As I said, this is also depends on the availability of the approval of the people. Plus, if the disease is very, very rare, you will not get 100 people, because if the case is 1 in 1 million, to get 100 people it takes maybe 20 to 30 years to achieve this. So in this case, you try to take with healthy volunteers plus some, of course, some patients. This is a mandatory to use patients at the clinical trial. So once you pass all the phase 1, 2, 3, so it takes 7 years or sometimes even more, sometimes shorter because of the disease outcome. And then you ask again the permission of the FDA or the local authority. Let's say, look, we tried all the phases, everything was okay, everything was successful. So far, the medicine that I discovered is curing the illness, the objective is achieved. So now I want to market this drug so that everybody can use it globally. And then you submit the application to the FDA. So it sometimes it's taking a lot, sometimes it's taking short, but the average from our experience is 1 year. But it could be up to 5 years. The committee want to see, okay, I want to see more results. You have to do that and that. So you will take 5 years to the government, the FDA authority to approve. Once the drug is approved, the pharmaceutical company is allowed to sell it in the public market. In the meantime, as I said, the government authority will also do a called pharmacovigilance. They control what happened to the public, if the public is okay, if they have some side effects. So this is one of the issues that for some coronavirus vaccines, some countries they are allowed, some they don't allow the same kind of vaccine because of their own population to safety. So it depends on the country. Is it okay for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I'm more close to the presentation. I have some quiz for you based on the information that I provide. So I think you are very smart enough already. You have a lot of good questions. It's for you. It's very easy to answer. So, for example, your mother or grandmother cooks some spices in the food that you eat. They tell, oh, it's good if you eat for cold. You have infection. You have to take this food, or this food is good, or tea. You make this spice with tea. It will be okay. Okay, so you know the composition of this drug inside the spice. For example, curcuma or turmeric or anything. Do you think you can? Because anyway, people are eating every day. In your food, when you create a masala, you will use this compound. Do you think you can synthesize and sell as a drug commercially?
No, sir.
Why?
Sir, because we did not do any trials. There are various phases, and we have to do all these, right?
Yes, good. But there are people, they are eating every day.
Sir, just because it works for us doesn't mean it should work for the entire of the population. So that might be just for us.
Okay.
Also, sir, we define drug as something other than food which we take in, right? This is basically just food.
Okay. It's good. It's all good answers. First thing is,
But
yes.
sir, it is an antibody. It is an antibody towards cold, infection, etc. So of course we can sell this commercially as a drug after processes, different type of processes, etc.
Okay. First, as you said, you are using as a food. So it's a supplementary compound, is not a drug. In case if you find something that everybody is using in their food and they are curing, and you have to pass through all the steps I said, that you have to prove that this compound is very good for cold or headache, infection, and you test in vitro, and you test with animals, and you ask for the permission, and then you do phase 1, phase 2 trials. And time will be shorter because it's real time. People are eating it, so the government will not say, okay, you have to prove more. And also people will accept to try this drug because you sell them, look, we are eating food. I don't think there will be an issue when you take this one. So you have a lot of opportunity. But nevertheless, you have to ask permission to the FDA or EMA or DHA that you have to try, and you have to prove that this what you are hypothesizing is correct. It's okay? It's clear? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the second one. You know, there is a drug approved by the Central Drug Institute from India, the control agency, and is very cheaper in India. Do you think you can import this to UAE?
No, sir. Because
No,
Then
sir.
we need the approval of DHA over here. If they approve, we can bring it up here.
Okay, good. Yes. So as I said before, there is a country-dependent approval. So if India accepts, doesn't mean the UAE or FDA or European countries will accept it. So if you want to get the drug officially to export, they have to pass through all the regulations, and you ask the permission of the country government authority to say, look, this is, and this decision is based on the government level. So the government will decide, okay, so I see that it's cheaper, then the same drug is available and also safer, then they will accept it or not. So it could be either yes or no. So it depends on the country's government authority. If they accept, you can bring. If they don't accept, you cannot bring. Okay, so this is a question that I asked you before. I also answered you. So what is the difference between a drug and a vaccine?
Drug is a cure and vaccine just prevents.
Good, very good.
vaccine is an antibody and drug is a cure.
Yeah, is a cure, is a prevention. One is a cure. A vaccine is not always antibody. Yeah? It could be a killed bacteria or just a protein from the bacteria or virus or anything that induce immune system could be used as a vaccine. And for COVID, for your information, for the COVID, there is a mRNA. It's an RNA molecule. Maybe you had the DNA. It's a mRNA, messenger RNA. It's used as a vaccine. So if you take Pfizer or Moderna vaccines, these are ribonucleic acids, messenger RNA. They can be used as a vaccine because this RNA has information to express a protein from the virus. It's not a real virus. It will express a protein which is on the surface of the virus. So the body of the person who get the vaccinated will have developed the antibody against the virus. So it's not always antibody. It could be a protein. It could be a killed virus or a killed bacteria, which is induce the immune system of the host. It's okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, as you since we are in Corona, I think for me it's important that you are all aware of that. So I prepared these last slides to explain you the vaccine. It's the same drug principle. You have to go through the preclinical testing and phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials. Since it's a pandemic, so we have only 2000. I think it started in 2019 December in China. This coronavirus, and a lot of people died in between. So the phase 1, phase 2, phase 2, phase 3 are very short. So from the preclinical testing onto the marketing, it became 1 year. So the coronavirus really challenged the design of the scientific community, how we work. But it's not always the case because if you might have heard in the news, the World Health Organization or FDA, they approve this drug or vaccine for emergency use. So it's not always the case for in this kind of emergency global pandemic because a lot of people affected globally. Every country has a lot of death. So the government decided to approve some vaccines. And it's the same for vaccine like COVAX, Covishield, or AstraZeneca, Oxford. There are some countries they allow. And there's also Sputnik. There is a vaccine from Russia. There's also Chinese vaccine. I forgot the name. But these are all country-dependent approval. So let's say UAE accepts, FDA approved. I would like to the Pfizer will allow. I will allow the Pfizer vaccine for the people. You can get the Pfizer vaccine in UAE. And it's depend on the country. So some countries don't approve. Some countries have their own product, locally made vaccines. And this vaccine is only applicable to this authority of the authority that be approved by these countries, but not for the other countries. So that's why if you use some drugs which are globally approved, for example, Pfizer, Moderna, or AstraZeneca, when you are traveling to a different country, you have the certificate to show, look, I have the vaccine, which is approved by the FDA or EMA, so you can travel. There are some drugs, vaccines, they are approved only by the local independent countries, which is not recognized by the global authorities. So you cannot travel, even though if you are vaccinated. For example, I got vaccinated in India by Covaxin. With the certificate, I cannot travel to Europe because the European country will not accept that I'm vaccinated because this vaccine is not approved in EMA in Europe or FDA. So this is also a global issue with the approval. That's why all the big pharmaceutical companies, they will go for a bigger authority like FDA or EMA for the approval so that this can be available to everyone, to the global population. And as I said, the FDA, World Organization, approved the COVID vaccine is emergency use because of the global pandemics, a lot of lockdowns in every country and death. But it's not always the case for every vaccine because we have to pass through all the steps to get the drug or the vaccine to the public. And just to be important, I want to finish this in a very important way, message. Some people you might have told you or said, look, I got a vaccine from COVID 2 days ago. Now I have a COVID. Do you think it's possible to get this? Once you have vaccination, you have the possibility to have a COVID? Yes, it is possible. Normally, when you have a vaccination, you see first vaccination, it takes 2 weeks to get the real immune system to be boosted up, to have a primary immune response. And then your immune system the response will decrease. So normally it takes 8 weeks. So at the time of 8 weeks, you need to have a second vaccination to boost up your immune system so that you will have a lifetime immunity, or you will have a very good, you can say that you are vaccinated. You cannot say like 2 days ago, I went to a doctor, physician, I made a vaccine. Now I am vaccinated. I go out as usual. I don't wear mask, which is really risky and dangerous because you are not still protected by the vaccine, because the vaccine takes 2 weeks to get a proper effect, to have some immune response. After 2 weeks, it will decline. And then you have to boost up. So if you take a first vaccine and then you miss the second vaccine after 8 weeks, you take the vaccine in 3 months, you cannot say you are vaccinated. So you have to follow what your physician is telling. Okay, you should come and get the second vaccination in 2 months. You have to take in 2 months because the reason they are telling you is because the effect will be down. You need to vaccinate within this time point. If you miss it, if you do, okay, I don't have time, I didn't do 2 months, I will go after 3-4 months, that means you should start from the beginning to vaccinate again. Is it clear for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if your parents are saying that 2 days ago they vaccinated, or uncle or say or aunt, that somebody got vaccinated but they got COVID, we don't know. They really went outside, they exposed exactly after 2 weeks or after the second vaccination. It can be happen, but it's very rare that after you vaccinate 2 times, you can have the disease. You can have the symptoms, but it's very less severe than the real virus when you don't vaccinate. So be cautious. If you have a chance to get vaccination, get vaccinated. For the safety of yourself and your family and your friends, it's very, very important to get vaccinated and to protect yourself and your people around you. It's responsible but everyone. So stay safe. Thank you again for this is additional slide, but just to explain you the scientific behind why 2 weeks takes to get the immune system, but it's not necessary for you at the moment that we are almost we are at the end of the 1 hour slot. So I would like to thank you and stay safe and healthy, and Yes. So thank you again for inviting me to this presentation. I hope I was able to give you some knowledge, some background information, how the drug companies work, how the drug, what are the procedure, how long it takes, how much it costs, and also the safety of the people. So it's very important. Thank you. Thank you, Fida.
Thank you, sir, for such an amazing session. I believe all of us have benefited a lot from this, right? And yeah, Nahida said, thank you, sir, for your valuable presentation.
Okay. So thank you very much, and I wish you all the best for your course, everything.
Thank you, sir.
And ahead, yes.
I
And
just
stay.
had a doubt. What are our career opportunities in this field of science?
So as I said, in the clinical trials, if you want to be, there are every field, there are a lot of people play a role to be a drug discovery, scientists, medical doctors, or management teams, or pharmaceuticals. So depends on your objective, what you want to do in your life. So it's your personal choice. To be in the drug field, you need to have some basic biological degree. That means that you should be able to understand the physiology of the human body, or because a lot of medical terms, pharmacological terms, that if you are involved, you should know what they are telling. Either you can be a physician or a scientist, should be in the medical field. It's more important that you understand the physiology of the human body, either by biochemistry, you study physiology or microbiology or biotechnology, anything that is relevant to biology. Because at the time that you interact with the doctors, they will tell you some medical terms that you should be able to understand what are they telling. For example, if you study IT or information technology or computer science, you may not be aware of all the medical terms that the doctors will tell you. When you are doing the drug trial, they will tell, oh, this patient has a hypercardiac issue, something. When you study computer science, you don't understand what the doctor is saying. It's like your father and mother, because they are not aware of anything of other than the conventional medicine. So it's responsibility of the person who's managing should understand what does that mean, and you have to take the decision soon. And there is also one of the important things that for being in the pharmaceutical science is the presence of mind and ability to make a decision fast. For example, if there is some issue that you encounter, let's say somebody is complaining there is some issue with the drug or the quality of the production. For example, when the drug is not clean, very impure, you know that it will have some side effect. For example, when you eat food which is not in a good quality in a bad restaurant, when they don't properly hygiene, you will have a stomach upset. It's the same for a drug manufacturing. When they make the drug which is not clean, impure, this is also has a side effect. So when somebody is aware of that, you should be able to say this is the drug side effect, or because of the impurities in the drug that somebody didn't prepare the drug clean. So you should be able to differentiate these two. And in this case, you have to say, okay, there is the issue that we have to stop. You have to stop. So you have to make a decision immediately, and also discuss with authorities. Look, to be honest, first you have to be very honest. That if you don't to lie and to anyone, either to a patient or to the authority, you have to be always transparent. Look, this is what I did. This is what I got. And also, if you go to a patient, you have to tell this drug is not in the market. We are testing on you. Is it okay for you? This is the side effect could be you will feel sleepy, or you get faint, or you have diarrhea. You have to tell them honestly. That is what they expected, and the final decision will be the person who accept it. Okay, I'm accept because I am suffering more than diarrhea. I am suffering more than headache. I accept that you test the drug on me so that I will feel better. I will be cured. So this is one of the important things. That first thing should be transparent, honest, and decision making. And if you are in this field, you should know anything about biologically, either biochemistry, physiology, anatomy, or medicine. So you learn anything that is related to human body. So that when you have to interact with the doctors or the drug companies, you should be able to understand the language they speak, because there are a lot of synonyms, acronyms, drug names, pharmacological terms, pharmacodynamics. So you have to know what they are talking about. If you don't know, then it's difficult. So the scope is very, very huge scope. So you can be involved in this kind of drug development, but you have to study anything that is related to biology, that is microbiology, biochemistry, physiology, or nutrition science, anything that is please you, that you are interested in.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Anybody else have any doubts? Please raise your hand. So Nancy Shajini has a doubt. You can ask, sir.
Nancy, yes.
Sir, I have a doubt in where there's a process where the drug is made. There's a three trials will be there, right? 3 phases.
3 phases, yes.
Yeah. So in that time, they will try it on humans, or will they like still continue to try it on animals? And then after the 3 trials, if it's okay, only they will like try it on humans. How is it?
No, the first, when you go to clinical trial, it is always patients. So the preclinical will be tried on animals, which is the development phase of the drug. But the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, these 3 phases are always with human beings. Did that answer you, Nancy?
Yes,
This is your question? Okay.
thanks.
And next we have Aslia Abubakar.
Yes, sir. Does the side effects vary in the animals and the human being?
Yes. Yes, exactly. That's why, as you saw my previous slide, so when you test with the in vitro in a cell culture, it's not the same like your human body. That's why you try with a mouse, because mouse is a mammal. It's like us. They make babies. They will give milk. So and also one of the advantage of using mouse is they have a lot of lifespan is very short. So the lifespan of mouse is 2 years. Okay. For human being, it's 70, now it's more than that, 80 or 100 years. So you cannot wait to 150 years for a drug to see the effect. So you try with a mouse, which is a very fast metabolism, and they breed a lot. So you can try 1,000 mice. You cannot do the same with human. So first you try with the mouse. Maybe you don't have side effects. That's why you go to a bigger animal, like a primate, like a monkey or chimpanzee. And they are expensive, because one chimpanzee to try, first you have the ethically approval, that you need to get the approval of the agency to use a chimpanzee, because they are very protected by the government. And one chimpanzee is almost 10,000 euros. So it could be 15 to 20,000 dirhams. So imagine if you use only one, it costs like that. If you use 5, it's 1 million. So in monkeys, you will see there's no side effects. That's why in the phase 1 trial, you take 10 or 15 or 20 people, and then you try. That's why the phase 1 trial with a small population of patients or healthy volunteer. And if you don't see any side effects, you go to a phase 2 trial.
Thank you, sir.
And our last doubt will be from Meenakshi.
So we discussed about career options. Like you said, we have to have a degree in anything related to biology to be in this field.
Yes.
So does virology, under any chance, come under this?
Yes, of course. If you study virology, you will study what the virus is doing to the body. No, you don't study only the virus. So you will study. Of course, if you study only the plant virology, it's different, because you study only the plant system, plant physiology. But if you study virology in the animal virology, so you will learn the physiology of the human body. So it's also important. Yes, you can.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an amazing session. And we have a surprise for you, sir.
Okay. So I thought it's finished, so I can go. No, it's not finished yet.
No, sir, there's a surprise.
Okay. Thank you.
Sia, can you show the next slide, please? Thank you, sir, for joining us today and giving us such invaluable information. This is a token of gratitude from our side.
Okay, thank you. Very happy that. Yes, okay. It's a pleasure, first of all, to meet you and talk to you and to introduce you something that I am passionate about. It's my everyday job that I do with the drug development. So it's a pleasure for me to share my experience and to answer your questions. So, and plus, this is the last surprise you gave me. So I'm very happy for that. And thank you.
Excuse me, sir. There's one of our students, Devika Baiju. I think she wants to ask you a question. So if you could take her question also, because she has been raising her hand for so long. I
okay,
think
no problem.
Unnoticed by the anchor. Devika, you can proceed, my dear.
Yes, sir. So, sir, you said like about the drugs. So, about the career things, like Meenakshi said, is there like something more other fields I can also get through these?
It's in the sense what is in the more field. For example, as I said, the drug trial includes, as you say, is a big operational aspect. For example, when you are making a drug, of course there are scientists, and there is also one more important in drug management, drug development is data managers. So there are some computer scientists, IT people involved because they manage the data. So whatever the data that they produce from phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials, they collect the data, and they also a server, which is very, very highly protected. So nobody can hack the server and steal the data, which is confidential to a company. And also somebody can imagine if some hacker block all the data that you did the clinical trial for the last 10 years, you cannot have the data to go to the FDA. Look, I have the data, you give me the permission, because you cannot access your data because it is in the global server. In this case, you can also be the data manager from IT background, but you are playing a role, a small role in a big aspect. But if you want to be really in the drug development, in scientifically contribute, as I said, you have to be to know the physiology of the human body, something that you related to the biological system you should study. But if you want to be as a part of this whole trial, there's always opportunity, because as a data manager, if you studied IT, you can manage the data, but you cannot really understand what does mean the data inside, because you are just managing the whole package.
Sir, one more question, sir. So there's a patient, suppose, with ophthalmia myasthenia,
yes.
That has a nerve issue in their eyes, the facial expressions. So for that, many doctors do not prefer any regular drugs, but they prefer high dose drugs with high dosage, such as steroids. So how does that? So if that, can they consider be as a drug or?
Yes, it's exceptional cases. So as you said, is not everyone can go through it. It's a decision of the physician, okay? Because if you take the normal drug, it's not working to this patient with the ophthalmological condition. So the physicians think, okay, I have a steroid, which is also approved by the government. Maybe I can test on you, okay? This is the choice of the physician. But in the worst
suppose
case,
the drug is the pericinol.
Yes, and the most easy drugs are skin creams. You can get approval from the government easily because it's on the surface. But the most complex one, that when you are taking inside, either by pill or by intravenous, because these are very risky. If something happened to your skin, it's okay. You will have other cream, or you can not have any big damage. Allergy, but you will not have a life-threatening condition. For you will not die because you have some patches on the skin which is damaged. But if you have a drug which is taken by oral, it is going to the whole system. It goes to your brain, it goes to a liver, everywhere. It is more complex to get the permission. But as I said, there are some viruses, even for ophthalmological condition, if it's genetic, there are viral drugs which are it's called gene therapy. They take the bad genes of the virus, they put the good one, and then they inject directly to the eye, and of course they anesthetize the patient so that the virus will go and repair the genetic default. But as I said, it should be a phase 1, 2, 3 trial, so you have to pass through all the steps to get approval. And the physician cannot decide in this case. I cannot go to a physician, look, I have a virus with can cure. It's not possible. It's illegal. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much.
So I hope all the doubts have been cleared. And I now welcome Nahida Najmuddin to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Fida. A very good evening to all. Myself, Nahida Najmuddin, your Deputy Ruby House Captain. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the word of thanks to all dignitaries assembled here. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty for making today's occasion a resounding success. I would like to thank our chief guest, Mr. Karlin Raja, who honored this function with his inspirational thoughts on the topic drug discovery from bench to bedside. I would also like to thank our Honorable Vice Principal, Mrs. Sindhu Samad, for her valuable words and support. My heartfelt thanks to the Principal, Ms. Karen Robinson, heads of various departments, and the faculty for their valuable contribution, guidance, and encouragement in all our efforts. I owe special gratitude to the teachers in charge, students, and volunteers who have worked hard to ensure that this occasion becomes a memorable success. Last but not the least, thanks to our beloved audience who made this event grand. Science does not know its depth to imagination. Science is my superpower. Science is nothing but perception. Science is organized knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Nahida. I now request everyone to stand in attention for the UAE National Anthem, followed by the Indian National Anthem.
عيشي بلادي عاش اتحاد إماراتنا عشتي لشعب دينه الإسلام هديه القرآن حصنتك بسم الله يا وطن بلادي 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 بلاد حماك الإله شرور الزمان أقسمنا أن نهدي نعما نعما نخلص نعما نخلص نعما عشنا نخلص نعم الأمان وعاش العلم يا إماراتنا رمز العروبة كلنا نبنيك مثلنا نرويك نبنيك بالأرواح يا وطن. جنوبنا